It is our fourth and final Friday Forest Focus with our Special Master Gardener Park series with live Zoom tours all throughout the state. And we are really excited to welcome you here to Montgomery Bell, which you will hear from Randy as kind of one of the mother church, so to speak, of the Tennessee State Park system. So we've seen some of the newest state parks, and now we're seeing some of the oldest. We are really excited to welcome you here today. And without further ado,
I'm going to turn the floor over to Randy Hedgepath, who is our state naturalist with the Tennessee Park System. He's going to give us a welcome to the park, and you can see Taylor Reeder from Williamson County is going to be on camera for today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Montgomery Bell, one of our original state parks. The state park system was created in 1937 by the state, and we piecemeal, one at a time, a few at a time, acquired parks through the years after that. Montgomery Bell was being developed in the 1930s by the CCC, and this entranceway that you see there, this rock work, was a part of the original park. And our symbol on the column there, the state park symbol is kind of symbolic of a lot of things. The yellow line around the outside say we're protecting something, and the shield itself is a kind of a protection symbol. And the scene with the mountains and the lake and the trees is based on a real park, a park north of Knoxville called Cove Lake State Park is the basis for our state park symbol. And welcome to Montgomery Bell, which is one of the first 20 parks that we had in the 1940s. 1942, it says on the sign. We had been running it as a state park for several years before that. And I wanted to show this tree, which later on I have a picture that I will show you of this beautiful white oak tree here. White oak trees are one of my very favorite plants of any kind. White oak trees being one of the most useful plants in our forest, in our state. This tree here is at least 70 years old because I got a picture of it from 1950 that I will show you very shortly. A beautiful white oak tree involved in more food chains than any other species of tree in the southeastern forest I have read. All right, so welcome aboard, and shortly I will take you on a virtual tour of the park, and then we will get out and see one of the real beautiful sights of the park. Here, this is a scene from the Hidden Lake unit of the Harpeth River State Park, the nearest state park to Montgomery Bell, and I will have a picture or two later on about Harpeth River. The Harpeth River site is interconnected, kind of, because they have sites within the Harpeth River State Park that were owned by Montgomery Bell himself. It's on the western Highland Rim. Montgomery Bell is in Dickson County. The Harpeth River sites are mostly in Davidson and Cheatham County. But in Dickson County, just a half hour west of Nashville, Tennessee, is a hidden treasure. And Dickson was home of a famous governor. 3 times Frank Clement was elected governor of the state of Tennessee. Much better talker than anybody I know of, including me, was Frank Clement. He was such a good talker, they let him do the national convention speech there back in the 1950s. Montgomery Bell also has a connection to the railroad. We have one of those side-by-side tracks on the backside of the park, and that railroad predates the park by several years. As a matter of fact, it dates back all the way to the Civil War. The track there was laid from Kingston Springs in Nashville all the way down to Johnsonville, which was a supply depot for the Union Army during the Civil War. The railroad is a very historic part of the park as well. And Montgomery Bell himself was one of the earliest and most successful of the iron masters of Tennessee. Found the iron in the ore in the rocks around Dickson County and Cheatham County back in the early 1800s, and ran his operation there in Cheatham County to a great extent. He was at one time the richest man in the southeastern United States. Here is the park entrance for Montgomery Bell that we can't see anymore because this is 1950. This building was the original park office, now a ranger station. We have a new park office through that gate to the right there and around to the right, where we are broadcasting from right now. And this is the way it looks, well, not today because we don't have snow today, but this was a day back a year or two ago when we got a good blanket of snow, and I walked around in the park taking pictures of things covered with snow. The original park office is made out of materials that came right from the land itself here in the park. The yellow rock you see there, the yellowish color is part of the iron that is in the rocks of this area. And the park entrance that we just had the live shot from, this is the way it looked in 1950. You can see we do not any longer have the island with the sign on it in the middle of the turnoff there. But our tree, this is a picture of the tree that I just had her give a close-up of. I thought I had a picture of it. But coming real soon is a need for this. One of the facilities that the CCC brought into existence was the swim beach on Acorn Lake. And it is still a popular facility today to cool off on a hot summer day. They did a lot of erosion control. This is one of the check dams that they took the rocks out of the soil and stacked them up over the eroding soil. The Bureau of Reclamation helped secure the park and bring it back to a natural state by doing work like this with the CCC boys. And the land that we are on today was once the property of farmers, and farming tools like the one you see here and some others spread out through the park. You can stumble over remnants of the old farming days, the prior landowners that gave up their property. They were essentially land rich and money poor. They were having a hard time making it, and they were most of them were very happy to sell their property to the federal government. This is a very elaborate outdoor toilet. They didn't have running water in their houses back in the 1920s here, where the park is today, but they did have a pretty elaborate outdoor facility. This bridge goes over to Church Hollow, one of the most historic features of the park. On that snowy day that I took the office picture, I also took a picture of this bridge. This bridge was reconstructed in almost exactly the same way that it was originally constructed by the CCC. And at the entrance to Church Hollow, which is just across that bridge, is the site of an iron furnace. It was called the Laurel Furnace because of the mountain laurel that grew on the bluff over the creek nearby. And Ranger Tim here is posing in his outfit from the early 1800s to show you back behind the sign there. You see the little rubble on the edge of the hill. That's where the furnace was located. There were three pastors of Presbyterian churches that got together in the hollow and formed a new denomination. Very interesting in that they saw the rules that were being applied to them as pastors of their churches as not in touch with the reality of where they were. They were on the frontier. They were in the wilderness. And they thought some of these regulations that they had to abide by were just kind of ridiculous. So they prayed all night about it in a cabin similar to this one. They prayed all night, and in the morning they had decided to form their own denomination, the Cumberland Presbyterian Church. So the birthplace of a denomination right here within the boundaries of the park, the church at the cabin site, the shrine to the birth of the denomination is still property of the church, but they regard it as a shrine. And we, as park rangers, we reserve or think of the park as a shrine. So we get along just fine, the church and us. In the summertime, when the church is surrounded by greenery, is the way it is right now. Come and see it. There are 3 lakes within the park. 2 lakes built by the CCC back in the 1930s, Acorn Lake and Lake Woodhaven. And then this one, which is Creech Hollow Lake, built in the 1970s as an additional recreational facility. The streams that run through the Highland Rim area here at Montgomery Bell are beautiful streams, clear water over bedrock, limestone. They're just wonderful. But the most photographed place in the whole park is the Lake Woodhaven Spillway. The CCC camp was just above this. So this was their masterpiece of construction. They stacked the rocks up, and it is just absolutely beautiful. This is what we're going to try to go see in reality in a little while. So it has a population of river otters. I was just talking to someone earlier about that. They live at the head of the lake. And beautiful old red oak trees around the edge of Lake Woodhaven make it special to me as well. Great place to see the fall colors. These colors here are of the black gum tree, abundant here at the park and all over Tennessee. The spice bush you can find all over the park. It's one of the most abundant wild shrubberies here in the Montgomery Bell State Park. We have about 20-something miles of trail. 3 of these little shelters were built in the 1970s for your convenience if you get caught by a rainstorm out on the trail. Or it is a good place, like I've done, to just stop and rest and maybe take a short nap. And for those who want to stay out in the woods and hear the peace and quiet all night long, we have 3 camping shelters out on our long distance, our 10.5-mile trail, which is called the MB or Montgomery Bell Trail. One of those campsites is at the location of an old homestead. And the remnant that you see of the old homestead includes various things, plants and foundations and so forth. But the most interesting thing is the little spring enclosure that they built around their source of water just down the hill from where the house stood. Springs are a part of all of the streams here in Montgomery Bell, but the most beautiful spring of all is Hall Spring. We have one of the camping shelters close to Hall Spring here. Hall Spring is the biggest spring that I know of in this area, with that 56 to 58 degree water year round coming out. And the green plant you see in the water there is watercress. The river otters and the beavers love it. I would not drink right out of the spring if I were you, even though it looks crystal clear and inviting. It does have a little bit of bacteria and other things in it that you might not want to consume, but a little bit of boiling of the water and it would be just fine for consumption. Here's a picture of Hall Spring that I took on one of my first visits to Montgomery Bell back when I was a college student in the 1970s. This is Hall Spring, 1977. The bridge is no longer there, thank goodness, because it was rotten. I didn't even go across it that day. And I went down to Hall Spring one time. David Withers, our zoologist for our department in Nashville, was doing a program on invertebrates. And we went down to Hall Spring. He found one of those little mud volcanoes and he dug down. He said, sometimes they get me, but most of the time I get them. So just a minute, he says, I got him. And he brings it out, a cobalt blue, linear cobalt blue crayfish, kind of unique to this part of the world, Western Highland Rim and North Mississippi and part of West Tennessee and nowhere else. The crystal clear streams are everywhere. This is a bridge on the Montgomery Bell Trail, a group of people that I was leading on a walk. You might want to consider going on a ranger-led walk sometime. Here at Montgomery Bell, there are several throughout the year, and other parks have them as well. Early spring, the redbud in bloom. This is the Lake Woodhaven spillway down below the beautiful rockwork that I showed you before. Redbud, one of my favorite trees. And did you know that you could eat the flowers? Yeah, I have a little daughter, and when she was real little, about 4 years old, she got up on the truck and started eating these flowers in front of some of my coworkers. And my coworkers kind of got scared. They said, "No, honey, don't do that. You might poison. That might be poison." And she looked at him kind of indignantly and said, "Well, no, it's not. My daddy told me I could eat these." And we ate some together. There's also a spot around Hall Spring where you can see the spring ephemeral wildflowers, the harbinger of spring and the toothwort and the pachysandra, and my favorite, the bluebells bloom here at Montgomery Bell in profusion. And we have a unique trillium. We have several regular trilliums, but our unique trillium is twisted trillium. The petals make almost a complete curve as they go back. And they are found on the Western Highland Rim and places where you would find those crayfish, but nowhere else in Tennessee. I want to show a few pictures now of our little sister park over in Cheatham County, just a few miles away from Montgomery Bell, is the Harpeth River State Park. And this is the most famous scene of all. It graced the cover of the Tennessee Conservationist magazine just a few months ago. This is also the Harpeth Overlook. A steep but short walk up to this view is well worth the time. And this tunnel is there underneath that bluff. This tunnel is work of Montgomery Bell. So there's a good connection for you right there between the Harpeth River and our state park here. Montgomery Bell had this tunnel well, I don't know the word for it, dug, I guess. They started from both sides. This ridge is a very narrow ridge, 200 yards long, 200 feet long. And they dug from both sides and met in the middle, and the water started coming through from the river on the other side. The river originally went 5 miles around that bend and came back within 200 feet of itself at the Montgomery Bell Tunnel. And he powered his iron forge here at Harpeth River State Park with the water power from the falling, you see in the picture here, the water falling created the power that was necessary to make the forge pound that metal and make it into something useful. Harpeth River State Park also includes a Native American site called Mound Bottom. And the bluff you see in the background there is part of the park. And the Temple Mound in Mound Bottom is one of the most interesting features of anywhere in Middle Tennessee, I think. You can't go there on your own because it is such a sensitive archaeological site, but the staff at Harpeth River State Park gives tours of Mound Bottom during the off season when they're not having to deal with the crowds at Maris and the other parts of the park. Harpeth River is a wonderful float stream. There are several canoe liveries nearby on Highway 70 that you can rent a boat and experience history and nature along the Harpeth River. Another little park area close by is the John Knowles State Naturalist, or Anaqua, which is not too far away from Montgomery Bell. This is a group that I was leading on a little walk around their trail there. It's a mile-long trail. The natural area is only 30 acres, but it's got an outstanding forest. That's a big white oak that you see there. The folks are leaning on. And that's our slideshow.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Randy. So what we are going to do now is let Randy run outside, and he's going to catch Taylor, and they are going to go to one of our next sites so that you'll get to see some outdoor location that is connected to the park and get to see some of those beautiful sites live in person. And what we are going to do next is give you guys a little bit of a Goose Chase update. And so we're excited at all of the great interaction that's been taking place across the state over Goose Chase. And I have to tell you this fun element of this morning. So we're here at the park, and we're setting up things and we're getting ready here. We are actually at the visitor center. And I hope that you saw, while Randy was talking, Taylor was walking around and giving you a great view of the things that were a lot of the plantings just right here around the visitor center. Well, anyway, I'm walking out the door of the visitor center, and I literally right there in the doorway run into a Rutherford County Master Gardener who is here at the park right now this morning doing the special destination challenge from Goose Chase. So it is just a really fun connection, and we're so excited to see all the people taking part and jumping in on this Goose Chase fun. So with that introduction, Evangeline, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you give a little bit of an update and talk about some of the rest of the challenges that are coming up.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Natalie. And that was a really good presentation. It's always so cool to see someone who's really enthusiastic and passionate about what they do and the stewardship of land. So I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen so we can all together take a look at what is going on with our submissions that we have. It's always fun to kind of take a look at that. All right, so here we go. Miss Judy just did the destination challenge. 14 minutes.
Surprise. I can vouch for it. She's really here.
Yeah, Natalie can confirm that it was in fact her. So I'm just gonna keep scrolling down. Let's take a look here. Suntan posted their video.
There's Jim canoeing.
Look at him.
Okay, kayaking, sorry. There he is. It's sprinkling outside, and he's out in the water. Just paddling away. Yep. There he is.
I love it. Rain or shine. Everyone's getting out there. Let's see another one here. And Natalie, you can stop me if I go too long. I'm just going to kind of keep going through and sharing these awesome videos.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay.
And you can see Taylor has her video on, so you're seeing scenes from the park right now as they're going to the next spot.
Nice. Perfect.
Hey, Beth Binkley, Master Gardener, Rutherford County, and
Mary Boyd, Master Gardeners of Davidson County. We're at the Tennessee State Park, which is the Bicentennial Mall in downtown Nashville. And come visit because on the east side of the park is a walk through Tennessee horticulture. And the park goes from, mimics the landscape of Tennessee and includes lots of native Tennessee trees, shrubs, and flowers. It's worth a visit for all that and more.
it's a great state park.
It
Thanks,
is.
Natalie.
Come visit.
Hey, that's
Love it. Let me see here. And that was our Trail Mix edition, which is where you get to meet master gardeners from different counties and kind of share that, share your experiences and learn how other counties are doing things. I want to try and find another video, honestly. I really like the videos. I'm hoping to see some of the videos from, we had our graduation last week for Bradley County, and it was so cool to see master gardeners out there getting their photos and taking videos for Goose Chase. So I'm hoping one of those might pop up.
Hi, we just finished out walking here at Bullstone Fort Park in Manchester, having a great time. There's the path behind us. We just came up that way, and it is wonderful out here. Been here with my husband.
Here we go. S'mores, please. Ah,
all right. Now here in your Percy Priest Lane. Gonna have us some s'mores.
or they're getting
We're
up-
good to go.
All right, that is awesome. Well, we are going to go back. Thanks so much, Evangeline, and thank you all for posting your videos.
Okay. Randy, it's all you.
Here we are, Lake Woodhaven, one of the best scenic attractions of Montgomery Bell State Park. It's a short walk down our ramp here to the overlook of the spillway, which is the CCC masterpiece of rock art. Got some beautiful trees, got great white oaks and red oaks. This big tree right here next to the short fence is a persimmon. And the little flowers all over the ground are the persimmon flowers coming off the tree. It is a native species, yes. Cute little flower too, don't you think? There's another persimmon. The blocky bark tells me what it is. And the dark color. And the ebony family. We can already hear the falling water. Lake Woodhaven is the largest lake in the park. And it has a group camps on it. So the camp that they filmed Ernest Goes to Camp is on the right side of the lake on up here. This was a part of the original park construction back in the 1930s. So they built the dam and then they put on their masterpiece, the spillway. We've had a little repair work done in the last few years. It got a kind of a broken up area down here in the spillway itself, so that's all been fixed.
And what were you saying? What tributaries pour into here?
Well, Hall Spring is above this lake. So the spring water out of Hall Spring comes down a spring run for about a half a mile before it gets to the head of the lake here. And at the head of the lake where the spring and the lake meet is where the river otters live. It's a really neat place.
Which I would love to see. I don't know about you, but otters are one of my favorite, and one of Randy's favorite. It's Randy's favorite wildlife out here in the park.
The tallest growing living thing in eastern North America. Tulip tree, a magnolia, really. See a little addition to the facilities up here.
Awesome.
Relaxing a swing as you listen to the spring. And there's a trail that goes down the spillway all the way to Church House. To the left, right up here through the picnic area. And goes down to the warehouse just outside of the church house. Of course, we got those cedars telling you that there's limestone underneath this. Lots of good red buds. And check out the big old tulip poplar over there. That one is probably 150 years old. Or more. It's been logged and lived in for many years, for at least 60 years before the Civil War. Even before the Civil War, there were farms here. So it was lived in for a long time. But some of the shade trees, or the trees that the farmers kept for whatever purpose, survived, and we have some scattered remnants of the ancient forest still here. Indeed. One of our older picnic shelters down here too, another CCC work. Here's the swim beach, the campground, and the lakes. They're all CCC stuff. Still used today after 80 years.
So I think that Evangeline mentioned this, but I'm just going to throw this in as we close our session today. We've got a few more days to finish out the Goose Chase Challenge. But on June the 24th at our Central Region Master Gardener Conference, which you absolutely all should be coming to, we are going to be announcing the winners. I actually have all of the prizes right here with me. We got some Tennessee State Park gear that are going to be part of the way that we celebrate. And as we close out today, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and we'll show you Taylor's scene as we see some beautiful trees and some of the native forests of the Montgomery Bell State Park.
And Randy said this is his favorite part, just all the trees lining the road.
You have good service now. It's extension, folks, right here. And while we have Randy there in the car, I just want to say thanks so much to him. You guys didn't know it, but he connected us with a lot of the other rangers who were part of our tours for all three of our other park visits. So this has been a fabulous collaboration that Extension has gotten to do with the Tennessee State Park system. Thanks to our whole Master Gardener work group. They really did a ton of work to get this off the ground and accomplished. So it's been a total team effort. You all, I'll leave it, Taylor, if you want to let Randy run us out.
Anything you want to tell him, Randy?
We're fixing to turn into the visitor center now, and I hope she can point the camera out the window and see that beautiful stream that is running down through the woods.
Yes, we went over to the Jim Bailey Nature Trail just a little earlier, and I saw the little bubbling stream.
Jim Bailey was based out of here in the 1950s. He was one of the first educators, naturalists for Tennessee State Park. A wonderful man that started what I do today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see y'all soon.